This thing is a mountain goat. Just came right out, no problem. So overall, long drive went pretty darn good. I think I got about 30 miles on it. No big problems. I got the carburetor to the point where I couldn't get it started. And I think it was because every time I throttled it, it was working the pumper. So eventually I took the pumper off and I just held the pedal to the floor and it started right up. But we developed a hole in the valve cover. I don't know if you can see it with this lighting. Probably not, but right in there, it blew rust out. There's just an open hole in the valve train right now. So I'm gonna have to put new valve covers on, new gaskets and all that. But right now I actually need to use it. I need to pull a truck into a parking spot and I need to pull another truck out of the woods because I got somebody coming to buy some parts. So gonna get this thing fired up, get it pulled out of the garage and get some work done. Thing I need to do is get this U-Haul truck pulled back up. I gotta pull some parts off of it. I'm gonna pull off the radiator. Somebody's gonna buy that. And then I'll probably give them the hoses with it. And then let's see, what else do I need to pull off? I need to pull off the throttle assembly off this truck here. I need to throw up the throttle and the linkage. So I'll get the winch run out, get it hooked up to this, get it pulled back, got a strap on it. I think what I'm gonna do is turn the truck around, put this on the bumper and see if I can just pull it out. It's on sand, so usually it'll just sink, but I'll see if my front rear lockers work to help dig this. I only got to pull it a little bit, so I'll just back up and get this hooked up. Slide off. I'm going to lock the hubs in, get it four-wheel drive. So, lock. And lock. I'm going to put this four-wheel drive. See how this works. Well, got buried pretty quick. I'll back out, see if I can get myself out of this mess here. This thing is a mountain goat. Just came right out, no problem. So that's not gonna work. I don't have a kinetic energy rope, so I'm just gonna get myself turned around and I'm gonna end up having to winch this thing. This is where that twin stick NP205 would be nice. I could do a front dig, bury my front tires, get this winched out, but I'm just gonna winch it out. Look at the damage. This thing's a plow. Look at that. So, time to pull the radiator. Back on this ugly ass truck. Got the intake off, got the carb off. time to pull the valve covers off. It's got these really stupid screws. If you got so they got studs in them. You screw these caps on, and it's just a total hokey system. So I'm gonna take all those off, get these valve covers off, clean them up, see how good they are. Got the valve cover off, and of course it's all bent up. I don't know if you can see the whole tail end there dips down, and by every single bolt it's flared out. So I got just some plates here. Now I'm just gonna work at it with a hammer and try to get it straightened out as best I can. You can see maybe here. Yeah, it's pretty bad. So I'll see what I can do. If it's not savable, I'll just end up getting some aluminum ones, but I'm gonna try to make these work. I'm thinking for now, I'm only gonna do this one. I'm only gonna do the one that needs a repair, because right now there's a higher priority on driving this thing and making sure that it's gonna be adequate for this trip we got planned. So right now we're worried about repairs and not upgrades. So I'm gonna get this one ready, get it on there. So pretty crude way of doing this, but I just got a bar in here and I just set this on top, kind of see the light, and I can see that I'm still a bit proud on my bolt tie down. So I'm gonna knock all those back a little bit. Let's see, on this side here, I've already done that, and we are good enough for me. We're easily gonna be able to get the gasket to seal on that side. So we have the outside here we need to knock down a little bit still. Let's see, oil caps in the front, so this is the outside. Get it set right up on there, and hopefully you can see what I can see, but that is so much better. Very, very little light coming out. I'd say it's less than a 1/16 of an inch, possibly less than a 32nd. So the gasket will seal on that, no problem. End is good, and the inside is even better. So very happy with how that turned out. I'm gonna run a Scotch-Brite on the outside and get this installed. Of course, that one's stripped. That's pretty rough. Ooh, got some rust on my valve or push rod here. Oh, so I got it all cleaned up. Went to go put it on, and I read all these other engines, and this not in the engine family, so these aren't going to work. Holes are in the middle, these holes are on the outsides here, so gonna need to go get different ones. Got our new list going. Once this list is done, we should be good to go for this trip. Back working on the truck, got the correct gaskets. Gonna get those, I guess just one of them thrown on, get the valve cover thrown on. I'm just gonna put a quick film of oil over it, get that on, and then we can start on either the carburetor or the fuel gauge. So I'll wrap this up and we'll see it when it's done. Since I use starting fluid to clean off the valve train, I'm just gonna put a little bit of oil on everything. If I put it just right here in the cap, usually it'll fling it on everything. So just gonna get everything oiled up, then get the cover on. Got the valve cover on. I was working on the carburetor. I was having troubles with the choke. After I would run it for a while and then let it sit, it would have trouble starting. Well, the choke plate wasn't closing all the way, so I thought it was my choke heater, but I actually just turned the screw out quite a bit. So I probably over adjusted it, but at least now I know what to play with, and I can just take the air filter off and mess with this screw a little bit. So next thing we need to work on is getting a spring for the kickdown. I just hooked that up, so I need something to pull it back to this area, hopefully, but if not, we'll build a bracket for it. Just want to show you a quick cool modification I did. So my throttle linkage, I drilled this out with a 1/16 inch drill bit, and now if I end up flooding it, I can just use this hairpin. It had a cotter pin before, but the hairpin, I can just pull this out and go full throttle without pumping even more gas into the carburetor. So I hopefully will be using that, or not using it. Hopefully I won't have to use it, but if I have to use it, it's there. So just another thing to keep me on the trail longer. I ended up finding this little spring off of an old carburetor. I don't have a good place to hook it, but right here there's the carburetor mount. So I'm going to take this nut off and build a small bracket out to here and just drill a single hole in it. So it might end up swiveling on me, so I might end up having to make it bigger and weld a tab right here just to keep that bracket from turning. So I think preemptively I'm just going to build it like that. I'm going to put something in here. I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, the kickdown plate is installed. I just put a flange on this piece, and that flange hits the carburetor, so it keeps it from moving forward. And then the spring is has some tension. Originally, the kickdown would not return as good as it is now, so I ended up spraying the kickdown on the transmission down with WD-40. It just had some oil and dust on it, so we're gonna call that good. I can hook the carburetor back up now and get the choke crossed off the list, get the valve cover crossed off the list, and get the kickdown assembly crossed off the list. Let's see, we got valve covers done. We got, geez, where is everything? Trans kickdown done. Choke adjustment done. Okay, so next I want to work on the fuel gauge. Right now, when I turn the key on, and it might not happen right now because it might need to actually run, but I turn it on and my fuel gauge pegs out. So if you have it pegging out, that means it's grounding somewhere. And if you turn it on and it just stays on empty all the time, well, then you probably aren't getting a good ground. So let's see, turn it on, goes all the way. It should stop right around full. What I need to do to diagnose this is I need to go under the truck and unplug the fuel sensor. If this returns, then that means the fuel sensor's bad. If it stays like this means I have a grounding issue. So I'll go get that unplugged. So the tricky part about this is my fuel tank is full. It's just not that full. So I'm just gonna reach up here. Oh, it's not as easy. All right, I'm gonna have to do it off camera. So with the sensor unplugged, you can see it hanging right there. Fuel gauge drops all the way back down. So thinking it's gonna have to be something with the sending unit. It could be the gauge is faulty. It's not reading the right resistance. But the problem is when we did the fuel tank and everything, we checked the sending unit. So pretty confused to say the least. But I'm gonna hook it back up and I'm gonna burn the gas down to about half a tank before we fix this. That way we can accurately diagnose if our new sending unit is working and all that. But I have parts for it, so it's not going to be the end of the world. It's just there's 33 gallons of fuel in there, and at 8 pounds a gallon, that's what, 250 pounds just about. So that's a lot of weight. I'm not that strong, so we'll have to just keep running it like it is. While we're under here, I'm going to show you the exhaust. So I tried putting some of this crappy exhaust patching stuff in there. I obviously didn't clean it up that good. I wire wheeled it, but the main problem is it's leaking out of the actual muffler. So all this work I did is essentially useless. You can tell we're getting a lot of the heat out, which I do like to see. But what I'm going to end up doing is ripping the entire tail end out, and I will remake the tail end because I do like those exhausts, the way they're routed and everything. But for now, we're simply gonna cut the two mufflers out right here and just put a downpipe right next to the drive shaft. So it's temporary, but right now I'm just getting a ton of airflow right out the mufflers. I will do an inspection to make sure that I'm not leaking anywhere else. But for now, that's going to be the plan. Just Sawzall, put new mag flows on, and downpipe them out the back. Ended up getting quite a few things done off camera. Just tied up some electrical that was by the cab. Oh, let's see what else. Hardwired the running lights together. There was a crappy old plug that would make these flicker going down the road, so I hardwired those. That fixed that. Let's see, so working on the exhaust now. Waiting for my dad to get back. He had to borrow my grinder. Fuel gauge we need to wait on. Let's see, clean the radiator. Yeah, I guess we can do that. We're just gonna blow it out, so do that now. It's actually pretty clean, so that's fortunate. Not sure how well you can see that, but it's dusty in here. I guess there was a lot more than I thought in that radiator, so glad I blew it out. Working on the front brakes. I can tell this rotor got really hot. Brake pads, the paint is coming off the end, which is probably pretty normal, but fact is it's getting pretty hot, and I think it's because this brake line here is old. What happens is it'll swell just enough to give the caliper pressure, but it doesn't remain rigid enough to let the fluid flow back in. So just a little bit of pressure stays in the caliper. So right now, I know I just spun it. It'll spin. I guess I'm spinning the whole drive shaft, so that's probably why it's hard. But so I'm gonna get this line changed out. It just goes right up to here. So this line, and then I bought another line for the other side too. Got a lot of work off camera done. Got new brake lines, both sides. Got the fronts bled. I put a new coil plug on. The last one was a bit loose and it died at one point, so, and I just moved that and it started right up, so I think that was the culprit. What else did I get done? So we know we finished the carburetor. Oh, I put fuel clamps, or I guess hose clamps on the fuel line all the way up, so that's a bit more permanent now. Tied up that electrical there. It was a little bit loose on the bottom where it goes underneath the cab. New brake lines over here. And then I almost wanted to cry. I thought my axle seal was leaking. Fortunately, unfortunately, whatever you want to call it, it was only the master cylinder, or I guess it would just be the brake cylinder, not the master. So just ended up putting a new cylinder in. It was a pain in the butt to get the brakes back together, but that's good to go. Got a cap welded on the top, on the front here, so rain can't get into there. But got a lot crossed off. So not sure what I'm gonna do about the mirrors. Exhaust is in the mail. Fuel gauge, we're gonna have to check when I burn through some more fuel. Caps on the tire carrier is done, I can cross that out. I'm gonna order up a rear view mirror, just one that sticks on with double-sided tape. And then I need to figure out the headliner, but honestly, I think everybody knows that's not very important. So exhaust is gonna be a big one. I ordered some MagFlow HP2s. I really like the sound of those ones. Matt's Off-Road Recovery uses them on the Morvair. Hoping to use them on this. So got a lot done this week. I just need to keep putting miles on it and keep breaking it until it's exactly where it needs to be. So I appreciate you watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'm going to keep the videos coming. It's going to be a lot less working on it, a lot more enjoying it. So stay tuned.